Now, all the football community is debating the position of Stephen Kenny, the Irish head coach. We've had one very good performance in Portugal in the last 7 days and one not so great at home to Azerbaijan on Saturday evening. Stephen has had a lot of bad luck, and a lot of people think that bad luck has nothing to do with it. He's not good enough for the job. And as newspapers reflect this in their comments. So it's a pleasure to welcome to the stand John Giles and Liam Brady, two of our greatest ever players, and indeed two of the greatest ever players wherever you're living, but also two people who have experience in international team management. Liam was a member of Giovanni Trapattoni's management team, and John managed Ireland for 7 successful years on the whole. John, we'll go back to the games and then talk about the bigger picture. The performance in Portugal was very encouraging, I thought, and a dodgy referee and a bit of a lack of perhaps self-belief cost us. But that's my opinion. What's your opinion?
Well, it was a good performance all round, Eamon.
Yeah.
It was probably the best performance I think Stephen has had since he's become manager.
Yeah.
Portugal with Ronaldo doing what he did, I thought it wasn't a good Portuguese team, Eamon. I'm not taking anything away from our lads because I think it's the best we played. We had a few chances. We haven't been scoring goals, as we know. But it was one of those games where you thought, well, it's coming round.
Yes.
Stephen has got it right. Now we march on from there. And unfortunately, then we come again to Azerbaijan, and it's back again to a poor performance. So he's under pressure, because I think a lot of people thought, and with a lot of goodwill after the Portuguese game, well, now it's better. We got Azerbaijan in Dublin, which we should beat. Well, we know what football is like, and we didn't beat them. We didn't play well. So it's back to square one, really, in Stephen's management career so far with the Irish team.
Right. Liam, just before we talk about the coach, the performance against Portugal, you were working on the night, and it was interesting, working for RTI, I should say, and your thoughts were interesting to me. First of all, the performance, and secondly, the refereeing of it. What did you make of the performance?
The performance was excellent, Damon. John said the Portuguese wouldn't be the greatest Portuguese team. I thought they underestimated Ireland from the off, and I thought it was going to be easy. But the way Stephen Kenny set the team up was very, very organised. It was very sound. I thought playing Coleman and Doherty as the wing backs was, very brave, and both players got forward a hell of a lot in that first half and created quite a few half chances. Yes. I thought we showed confidence and composure on the ball.
Yes.
I think the Portuguese realised they were in a game at half time, and they came out and they were a different proposition, and they pushed us back and back and back. And it was just a shame that we couldn't defend for that last 5 minutes. I do think it was down to a couple of errors that we conceded the goals. But Ronaldo is, as we know for the last 15 years, is a phenomenal player. And if you give him that kind of chance, he's going to take them. But I thought it was a really, really good performance from the Irish team. As I say, you'll always get commitment from an Irish team, but there was confidence and composure to go with it. And I thought Doherty and Coleman were outstanding as the wing backs going forward and giving the team a lead in how to hold on to the ball and not be frightened to get on the ball. So I thought all in all that was very good. The referee, as you said, looked biased. He gave them a penalty when he was asked to go and have a look at VAR, and he still decided to give them a penalty. when it wasn't clear cut by any means. I don't think Hendrick made that much contact with Fernandez. Then
and you thought, Liam, you made an interesting observation, and I agreed with you, but I hadn't thought of it until you mentioned it on television. When the referee went to the sideline to look at the piece of video, when he was coming back, you said you didn't think he'd actually made his mind up until he was halfway back, because that's when he pointed to the spot. Usually,
that's the way it looked, Eamon. You know, normally when you look at the monitor, your mind is made up, and you make the signal that you've looked at VAR and you've changed. You're going to overrule the decision or give the penalty. But he took another 30 seconds before he made his mind up, I think. I don't think he wanted to spoil the Ronaldo fest, the Ronaldo party, Eamon. And even we had a great shout for a penalty in the second half. Well, that's what I want to ask you about. When Connolly was bundled over. So things didn't go well for us. But we're not going to qualify for this World Cup anyway, Eamon, with the way we've started, losing at home to Luxembourg. So what you wanted to see was a performance like that to give us optimism going forward and to make us believe that the coach is the right one,
Yes.
And we got that in Portugal, but we didn't get it on Saturday afternoon in the Aviva.
John, just let me go back to the Portugal game and the penalty claim. 3 minutes into the second half, 3 or 4 minutes, Aaron Connolly, one-on-one with the keeper, he got barged in the back. To me, it was a stone-cold penalty, but again, it's your opinion that people want to hear.
No, I think it was a penalty. Well, it was a good claim for a penalty.
It would have made us 2-0 up.
Well, you don't know, Eamon. That's all ifs and buts.
Right.
You could say, of course it could have made a difference, Eamon. Of course it could. But the fact is, you don't have to lose it after that.
Yeah, sure.
And I thought McLean was poor. I think it was maybe for one of the headers anyway. He had the fella on the byline. There was only a yard between him and the end line, and he allowed him to get through to get past him to make the cross. That was a vital part of the game.
Yep.
But as you said early on, I think Portugal picked it up in the second half. They made a very, very clever substitution. They brought Matinho on from Wolves, the Wolves lad, who got a grip of the game in a way that the time was running out. It's very easy to panic at that situation, and start knocking it in the box. And, but they didn't do that.
Yes.
And actually, what we needed at that time in the game was a Matinho to get a grip of the ball. We couldn't get anybody to get a grip of the ball to take the pressure off the defence overall. So overall, it was a good performance, and it was something that we could go on from there as we expected.
Yeah.
And as Liam said, it didn't happen, Eamon. So as far as Stephen is concerned, we're back to square one. And he's under pressure.
Right. Now, Liam, in the second half, we lost Dara O'Shea, who's played really well for Ireland. He's very good. He's been in the back three. He started really well. Every time he's played for Ireland, he's looked a very good defender. So having Egan, Dunphy and O'Shea as the back three allowed Stephen to play Matt Doherty and Seamus as wing-backs. That was another blow, as was the absence of Callum Robinson through COVID. He came on late on Saturday, but if you've had COVID, he hasn't been lucky, Stephen. He's been ferociously unlucky with those kinds of things.
Yeah, but he didn't have to alter the team as much as he did.
No, I agree with you. I think he made mistakes.
He could have played the kid that came on for O'Shea, Omabama Dele, the lad from Norwich, who did quite well in the game.
He did.
He looked composed. He looked a strong defender. So he could have left the wing backs the way they were. Instead of that, he chose to change. And I think that's why people are asking serious questions of whether it's he's going to keep his job going forward.
Yeah.
I agree with John. Funny enough, I said to people in RTE, we're going to analyse what the last two games, and McLean was definitely bad for the first goal. He just, if he stands up, the worst thing scenario is Portugal get a corner.
Yeah.
Instead of that, he's tried to win the ball. and the Portuguese winger skipped past him and put a great cross in for a Ronaldo. But those kind of things cost you in the end, Eamon, you know.
Yeah.
And then McLean is playing on Saturday against Azerbaijan when he could have left Doherty. You had a magnificent game in Faro.
Yes.
Leave him in that position.
Yeah.
So I think there are quite pertinent questions to be asked, and we got to analyse these things, Eamon.
No, absolutely, and that's why it's great to have the opportunity to talk to you and John, and for our listeners to hear it. John, taking Seamus away from the right back position, putting him in a back three, you lose a hell of a lot. I mean, he's got an engine, he's up and down, and even from that position, he managed to get himself free in the box. He didn't make a very good effort on goal. But Liam's point about the changes, and I think the changes on Saturday were they were not to our advantage. And that particular idea of Liam's, that kid did well from Norwich, Omabamadelia. He really did well when he had to come on for O'Shea in Portugal. Could have left that alone, played with Doherty as a left wing back and Seamus as a right wing back. That was mistake number one, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, but it was, Eamon. I think when you get a team playing the way they did against Portugal, really, whether it be a league management, you want to make as few changes as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Because if that was the reason it was a good performance, because the players did what they did. And as Liam said, Seamus and Doherty going down, they played absolutely brilliantly in the match. So that's one thing you look and say, well, I'm not going to change them unless you really, really have to change them. And that was the big thing. And it's going into the second match, Eamon, as we're talking about now. To be honest, to put Parrott on and who's the other lad? I know we had the Ida up front.
Yeah, Adam Connolly played again on the left side of a three, which he doesn't have a left foot. He's a good player for the future, but he's down the middle player, I think, John, rather than... He's
a striker.
He's a striker,
so is Parrott a striker.
Yeah.
And so is Ida a striker. So there's no balance in that. I mean, there is no position for three centre-forwards, Eamon.
No.
There's no position for that. You have to use your players in the best positions. So there's nobody wide, actually, in the game in the first half. Now, there were changes made second half, but that's five changes. About five changes made in the team from a good performance against France. Now, I know it's only 2 days later, and maybe players are a little bit tired, but they're pretty drastic changes. I mean, it's a totally different team altogether. Yeah. So it's no wonder that they didn't play as well as they did against Portugal. Although even with, like, on paper, we don't know anything about Azerbaijan. But you think, well, this is a match we should win. But there were big changes, Em. There's at least 5 changes made there. Yeah. And as Liam pointed out, the two lads that changed, Doherty's position and Seamus Coleman's position, were really, really drastic changes in relation to what we did against Portugal.
No, I agree, Liam. The other player that impressed me against Portugal was Jamie McGrath in midfield, the young lad. He gets goals. He was top scorer for St Mirren last year. To be honest with you, I didn't know he existed. But Stephen was able to find him, and that's one of his strengths, really. He knows these young players from the underage teams and his connection with the grassroots of Irish soccer. Malumbi came into the team, who is just a grafter. He's a good grafter, but the point John made about the wing-backs, and you've made as well, it's very, very true, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel a bit sorry for him in the middle of the park, because he just doesn't have any real quality in there.
No, he doesn't. Yeah.
They're all much of a muchness, McGrath, Arthur, Hourahan, Malumbi, Cullen. You'll always get commitment from them, but they haven't really got the quality to run the game.
No,
and
the guy
they're of a certain age. Sorry?
Wes Hoolahan would be a good example of somebody, or you, or John, but somebody needs...
Well, they just haven't got that quality, and that's where I feel a bit sorry. And it's the same for the last few managers. We are lacking quality in midfield and up front. Now, what he's done up front, he's decided to go with youngsters, and they're going to be learning on the job, Eamon. But I think they will get better. I think Ida's shown me enough to say that he's going to be a very good player for Ireland going forward.
Yes.
And, hopefully he can get the knack of scoring goals, which can, come to a youngster. He's only 20 years of age. Connolly as well, you've mentioned he's young as well, and Parrott's young. So I think there is improvement going to happen with our forwards, but I'm afraid in midfield, I'd struggle to pick the best 2 or 3 to play in that central midfield role.
Yeah, John, the question now is, no matter who, if you were managing the Irish team now, you'd have the same group of players to pick from. I don't think you would have made the big mistake that was made on Saturday, which was altering the balance with Seamus Coleman as a right wing back and Matt Doherty as a left wing back. However, the question now is about whether Stephen is allowed to survive. My own view, which isn't really too relevant here, because you guys know more than me and you've been there, but my own view is, I went back to Alan Hansen's comment about Fergie when they played at Aston Villa. They got beat 3-1. It was the first game of the season. And Alan Hansen said, well, you win nothing with kids. And he was haunted by that for the rest of his punditry career. However, we don't have anything other than kids, do we?
There's a big difference between the kids of Ferguson had and what we have. I know. But
what I'm saying is, these, as Liam's just pointed out, and I agree with him, if you look at Adam Ida, Troy Parrott, and Aaron Connolly, they are all young lads. They are experience is something that's hard gained. Sometimes you got to pay a price for it. So what options has Stephen Kenny got? Do you think he should be allowed to see his contract out and try to qualify for the Euros or not?
Well, yeah, I would give him another chance, Simon. He's like he's on a sticky wicket now. There's no doubt about that. But if I know what you're saying by giving these lads a chance, which is right. But while they're getting the chance, Simon, you have to go back to situations where the Coleman Doherty situation, right, which has nothing to do with the young lads.
No, it brings his judgment into question, doesn't it?
Well, exactly. Yeah, I don't want to be. I think Stephen is a nice lad. I'd love to see him given a further chance to do what needs to be done. But if we're analysing the situation, we have to be critical as well as anything else. And like, I know I'm making the point about the young lads, which is good. But the young lads that came in on Saturday, which was either Parrott and the forwards I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, and Parrott.
Right.
Yeah,
but the fact that they're young lads, but you don't play them in the positions they were played in.
Exactly. No, you need.
You know what I mean? Like you've got 3 centre forwards, and there's no positions for. You have to play 2 up front and 2 wide if you're going to do that, or 1 up front on his own.
Yes.
No, but you don't play 3 recognised forwards in make-up positions where there's no position for them to play in.
Yeah.
That's all the things that I'm taking in consideration. And the future is the future. And I'd love to see him. I've met Stephen a few, and he's a smashing lad, and he's very, very honest lad. And I'd love to see him given another chance. But if we're analysing the situation, we have to do it, and I don't like doing it, but we have to do it.
Yeah, Liam, the question that's raised by Saturday's team selection, for example, is about Stephen's judgment and his knowledge and how he sees things. And of course, in the end, that's what will govern results. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, any manager coming in when Stephen came in would have had to look to the future. Would have had to change the team because the team was going nowhere that we had. So it needed to be kind of gradually disbanded and all these kids to come in. And the group we were in with Portugal and Serbia was always going to be difficult for us to move one of those 2, and it's for me, he chose the right route to go and give new players a chance and try and build a team for the Euros, which we will have a decent chance of qualifying for because they've opened it up and made it easier. So,
yes.
So that was his project. But you want to see some hope along the way, Eamon, don't you?
You know, yeah, absolutely.
And you want to see some consistency, and you want to see the players buying into what the philosophy is. You know, you mentioned John and Trapattoni at the outset of the program, but with those guys, you knew what they wanted. You knew exactly what they wanted, and for that matter, you did with Jack Charlton. I'm not sure with Stephen that's the case. Right, we're trying to play out from the back with a 19-year-old goalkeeper. Eamon.
Yeah, who's very good, incidentally.
Yeah, he's very good, but he doesn't want to be put under that pressure to be making decisions with the ball at his feet, to play 5 and 6 yard balls in between people and things like that. Give the kid a break, you know. Yeah. So there's lots of things that Kenny has done I can't really agree with, you know.
Right.
And I have to admit he's not that impressive when he speaks. Now, I know that shouldn't have anything to do with it, but it does create a confidence in the manager if he looks capable and gets his message across even through the media.
Yeah.
I'm afraid that hasn't been the case. So what I would say was we give him to the end of this campaign. He's got another 4 games to go, and then the powers that be will have to make a decision.
Right. So, John, you think he?
I wouldn't give him I wouldn't renew his contract and say you're okay to take us into qualifying for the Euros, Eamon. No way.
Right. So that you raised that question. Actually, you raised that point on television last Wednesday. You said you weren't sure that Stephen was the coach to take us forward. That was the exact words you used.
Yeah, well, I'm still not sure. I want to see some evidence of that in the next 4 games, Eamon.
Okay, John, you think that he should get the chance to coach us through the Euro qualifying before a decision on his future is made. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think Liam has summed it up. I couldn't sum it up any better than Liam has summed it up there, Eamon.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. And I think he's got another 4 matches, which is fair, and haven't had quite a few matches now. I think that's a fair assessment of the situation at the moment.
Yeah, and can I just put it to
sorry, Eamon, John is not saying he should have his contract renewed for the European campaign beyond this.
Oh, no, not at all. No. You didn't say that.
No, Eamon's putting words in your mouth, John.
No, I'm not.
Watch it.
No, I don't think
Watch it.
Oh, no.
No, I don't. I wouldn't take it that way. No, I think, it's been fair. I think the fair question that he asked you was fair, and the fair answer was fair. And I'm saying the same. I think the question is fair, and I think that the answer you made, which is Stephen's got another 4 matches, which is a few, and they're important matches, as we know, and to show improvement at that particular time to warrant an extension of the contract.
Okay, and just to put a question to both, my own view is that he should be allowed to coach us through the Euro qualifiers. And I'll tell you why. I'll put it to both of you. I'll put it to you first, Liam. No manager, including Trapattoni, Martin O'Neill, Jack as well, and Mick McCarthy, inherited a squad so bereft of real experience and real quality. None of the previous people in that job had to deal with the poverty in midfield that you refer to rightly. And yet, Stephen is getting fantastic performances from Shane Duffy, John Egan, Seamus Coleman. And so would you take that into account as a mitigating factor, which I think he should be? And the reason I think he should be, Liam, is he inherited a wasteland. I mean, then David McGoldrick resigned, and then guys got COVID, and then in Darragh O'Shea, you can be unlucky. And in international football, this is a grand project. All of these kids, the very important ones, they played under 21 for Stephen. Parrott, Ida, Connolly, Horgan, who came on as a sub the other day and has always done well when I've seen him play. He has to be allowed a bit more time because of the exceptional lack of talent or lack of developed talent that he inherited.
Well, absolutely, Eamon. I would agree 100% with you that this is the hardest job any Irish manager has had, down through the years, because there's always been more talent than they have at the moment.
Yes.
But what he has now is a young talent, and they look all right, particularly in the forward line.
Yeah,
and
they
the
need
goalkeeper
time, don't they?
and the goalkeeper. Yeah, but they need time. But the coaches has to demonstrate he's the right man for the job. And I've pointed out to you that he's making mistakes.
Right.
And are the players, going to buy into him going forward? Now, the powers that be in the FAI, particularly this Jonathan Hill, who's the chief executive, he's got to weigh all that up. It might be the case that.
Where did we get him from?
Well, we got him from the FA, Eamon. I know, but he's still got the job to do it. It's still his responsibility to make that judgment and report back to the board and see where they go from there. That's the way life is in football.
Yeah.
There's a chief executive at a football club, and he goes back and he gives advice to the board, and they either take it or they don't. Now, the other factor in going forward is have they got any money to pay anybody else? Can they afford anyone better than Stephen Kenny, or anyone that better is probably the wrong word, but has a better track record than Stephen Kenny?
Okay, the answer to that
I mean, you have to go.
No,
sorry, I mean, what you're saying is for the future. I think Liam has already said it. Give him the next 4 matches and see how he goes. We can only judge him on what he's done so far.
Yeah.
And what he's done so far, and you're talking about last week's match in particular, wasn't good.
Right.
Okay, we've got the forwards up front, we've got the young lads, they need a chance. But what we're discussing from last week has nothing to do with them. This is Seamus Coleman and Doherty's situation.
Yes.
That's what we have to judge him on now. We can't judge him on the future because we don't know what's going to happen in the future, and there's possibility. I'd love to see Stephen do extremely well in the next 4 matches that deserves an extension of his contract. That's not the situation at the moment.
Can I ask you the same question I asked Liam? Has any manager in history, even recent history, inherited such an inexperienced squad of players?
No.
Right.
No, that's exactly right. I think this is the poorest squad of players that I can
in our
remember.
lifetime. Yep.
Right, that's definitely right, Eamon.
Yes.
But that's what we have. But we know that. But if we're making the decision on Stephen and talking about Stephen, that's not really an issue at the moment, Eamon.
Okay.
Stephen can only make the best of the players he has at his disposal.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. What we're talking about now, has he made the best of the people he has at his disposal?
Right. Okay. I just a final question for you, Liam, and both of you really. I don't like talking about luck ever. You make your own luck. However, in Stephen Kenny's case, he has been remarkably unfortunate in one way or another, whether it's COVID, the injury to O'Shea in Portugal, all of these things that have conspired against him, and that may be a mitigating factor.
Oh, well, you've got to take that into consideration as well when you're considering whether you're going to give him the job going forward. You've got to take your circumstances that went against him into consideration. I would agree totally that he's not had any luck at all. We've referred to the game in Portugal where we should have had a penalty, and maybe their penalty, I know it didn't count in the end, but maybe their penalty shouldn't have been given, and the extra time the referee played.
Indeed,
I agree. I agree with all those things, and the Azerbaijan midfield player scoring a worldly goal, with a brilliant goal. Yeah. You wouldn't have expected that either. But, you've got to weigh the whole picture up when you're making the decision. And I don't know, Eamon. That's my gut feeling at the moment. I don't know. And the next 4 games will tell me what I think, Okay. I knew it was going to be a real difficult job. But he has 4 games to show that the players are buying into what he's doing, that he knows what he's doing, and he gets some results along the way.
Yep.
We're unfortunate. Look, I believe Coleman is out for the match tomorrow night, so there's another one.
Yeah.
And we're up against it. They have some very, very good players, but if at the end of the campaign, Eamon, we only finish with 3 or 4 points, it's going to be very difficult to give the man the job.
Okay, I'm very grateful to Liam Brady.
Can I have my say on that, Eamon?
Yes, you certainly can, John.
Yeah. I think things haven't gone his way. There's no doubt about that, and for various reasons.
Yeah.
But again, I don't want to be cruel. But the decisions that he made last week after the Portuguese game actually have nothing to do with his luck or bad luck or good luck in the previous times.
Yeah.
I like Stephen. I'd love to see him do it, Eamon. I think he definitely deserves the next 4 matches to see what he can do, and I'd love to see him do well, like we all would, and get an extension on the contract.
Okay, I'm grateful to Liam and to John, and for anyone out there who's wondering, listening to those two guys perhaps will help you make your mind up. Thanks to Liam and John.